Big up, good night, everybody. It's your boy, Mark and MUFC fan, and we are live on the Mark and MUFC fan channel, and it's the late night transfer market news. Of course, you know what it is, guys. Don't forget to smash the like and subscribe. Oh my goodness, Man United under 21 just lost to FC Niederheim, I believe it. If I get it right, or Nordheim, but it was not a good game for them. They are currently sit at bottom of the group. But let's get into more interesting news. Big up to my brethren, Bali Tech, in the building as usual.
What's good, yo, big up, man. Have no fear. Bali Tech is here. We're in the building.
Bro, it's going to be an interesting one. There's lots of news coming into the transfer window. I feel like we might be in for some a bit of a laugh as well because, you know, there are reports that we've been talking about it. Let's talk about this one first because I think it's pretty interesting that we talk about this right now because, you know, we've been wondering about if this is actually going to happen, and it looks like it is going to happen because Barcelona's director publicly opens door to Marcus Rashford signing after he agreed personal terms. Barcelona, among a host of European clubs, sizing up a move for the outcast Marcus Rashford this month with only 2 weeks left in the transfer window. Manchester United must be questioned what to do if a deal fails to materialize before the deadline. And he has not featured for the club since September 12th, which means it's been over a month, and that's a lot of games that he has missed, instead being omitted for 9 successive games. And that is not good for any player, whether you rate Marcus Rashford or not. You know, it's one of those things where it's not good for him, it's not good for the club. He's on 375K a week. It's a bad situation. And no matter what, said Amorim, I'm not going to put a player I do not believe is best for the team in the squad. And this is after we lost to Brighton 3-1 on Sunday. Marcus is out of this moment because he is not playing. Barcelona director opens the door to a potential acquisition, as he has been reported as saying we are fully focused on new contracts now. Then if we can bring in other reinforcements, that would always be welcome. The coach is happy with the squad, and so are we. We have any future decisions to make, it will be made very, very shortly in the next coming days. They are in a precarious financial situation, which remains the roadblock preventing the 27-year-old from flying to Spain and putting pen to paper on a half-season loan. But he'll be keeping a close eye on Ansu Fati, and Eric Garcia's transfer links, as either player departing would be the key to unlocking his transfer for the 6 months. Bali, what are your thoughts on this report? It's interesting. You know, I'd pay attention to it, but with a pickle of salt in my hand as well.
My thoughts are most probably gonna be, I think I don't really trust Barcelona as far as I could throw them, because obviously they had the problems registering Almo, and they've had multiple problems with players in the past. Either registering them or buying them and having to utilize levers in order to get them in. I think if worse comes to worse, Rashford may leave on maybe the last day of the window, because I believe that if Barcelona can't get this wrapped up, Milan will come back in for him. Maybe Juve might come back in for him. Maybe PSG might even come back in for him. I feel like multiple teams can turn around and say they want Rashford on the last day, because they can drive down the price, maybe the wages and everything else. So watch the space on the Rashford front. That's how I feel.
Okay. Well, I mean, for me, it's going to be interesting to see if that happens. You're waiting for your flight. Big up to Royden in the building. Where you headed to, broski? Have a safe flight wherever you are going, bro. Tomorrow, I'm going to be making my way to the airport late in the night to get to Manchester for the game on Thursday, but we'll leave it for then. But big up to you, my brother, and big up to Bali in the building and the great one. We know you hate the transfer window, broski. It's just is what it is. We got to report the news. You know what I'm saying? Let's go on to some other interesting news that's coming out, because guess what, guys? And this one is a tricky situation. Man United apparently have reduced their asking price for Garnacho, as, you know, a possible move nears. And Manchester United have reportedly lowered their demands in a bid to reach a compromise with Napoli over his transfer to the Italian Giants. You know, Garnacho's future is one that is in severe doubt at this moment. It has been suggested that United are open to letting him leave this month, with Napoli and Chelsea expressing strong interest in the Carrington Academy graduate. The Napoli boss, Antonio Conte, is believed to be the one driving his side's pursuit of Garnacho, who he views as an ideal replacement for the departed Kavica Kvaratskhelia. There have been claims that Garnacho has agreed personal terms with Napoli and is open to sealing a switch to Diego Armando Maradona Stadium amid some uncertainty over his role in Amorim's preferred system and style of play. United have been thought to wanting £65 million to sanction his sale, and a figure that Napoli deem over excessive. Earlier today, it was stated that the Red Devils held a meeting with Napoli to try to find a solution that satisfies all relevant parties involved. And now Gianluca Di Marzio has been reporting that Amorim's side may have lowered their asking price in an effort to try and ensure the deal gets done. He's narrowed the distances between the parties. The English club showed up with the willingness to meet Napoli's needs. The two clubs met today, and for the Argentine talent born in 2004, the Red Devils have lowered their demands and gone down from initial 75 million to around 65 million, whether that's 55 plus 10 bonus add-ons or 60 plus 5. Although Napoli is currently stuck around 50 to 55 million euros, the distance between the parties has narrowed and the feeling that a deal could be close, with the blue club reaches 60 million. And clearly, the investment requires the green light from President De Laurentiis. Today's meeting, however, has allowed Napoli to get closer to Garnacho. Di Marzio notes that United will certainly not go below 65 million euros for the young player. So let's see how that goes. But before we go into anything else, I just wanted to mention one slight thing that might add a little bit of interest into the possibility of the deal making even more progress going forward, because, you know, there has been some interesting news coming out today, and that is one of those news that, you know, maybe you guys might be more interested in. I am, to be honest. You know, guys, I am not really, you know, too keen on certain things, but at the same time, let's check this out, because guess what, guys, it looks pretty interesting for me. And if you look at it from this perspective, there could be lots of things that are possible to happen in the window. And I'm talking about the likes of Victor Osimhen. And Napoli are said and reported to have offered a discounted price on Victor Osimhen that they will put in writing into Garnacho's contract if Man United also makes a lower on their fee for Alejandro Garnacho. And now, whether that is true or not, the report goes as follows, and I'm going to bring it up so you guys could see what I'm talking about. So, you know, I'm not just speaking because, you know, at the end of the day, it's not one of my favorite strikers, but at the same time, you know, he might be that guy, and I could be very wrong in my judging of the player. And Napoli offer Manchester United a discount on Victor Osimhen. They are willing to offer a discount on Victor Osimhen, the prolific Nigerian striker currently at loan at Galatasaray. Osimhen is expected to command 75 million euro fee in the summer, but according to the Naples-based newspaper Il Mattino, the Serie A giants could reduce his price if United lower their evaluation of Alejandro Garnacho. The report also claims that Garnacho has informed United of his preference for a move to the Stadio Diego Armando Maradona this month. Negotiations between the clubs are intensifying. They're expected to have another meeting tomorrow, and today in their meeting, Osimhen has declined a January switch to United, opting to complete his loan spell at Galatasaray instead. And this is one of the things that has complicated the deal, because Man United, if they are to lower their asking price, they would want Osimhen to come in to avoid any later mishaps in the summer window. What are your thoughts on this, my brother? Let me know, and let me know how you feel. And the guys in the chat, big up to you, Mama Flossie, as well.
Okay. In regards to Garnacho, aside from Osimhen, Garnacho. Where do I start with this kid? He burst onto the scene after his heroics in the FA Youth Cup, where he scored 2 goals in the final game. He was always known for, like, the Ronaldo celebrations. You know, Ronaldo was his idol, and he aimed to follow in Ronaldo's footsteps by developing his career at Manchester United with the hopes to move into Madrid, just as Ronaldo did. Unfortunately, the club has brought in Ruben Amorim, and sacked the manager that he was establishing himself under. And unfortunately, the system that Ruben Amorim plays, I think Garnacho is finding it difficult to adjust to what the manager actually wants. Not to say that he can't develop into the role, but I feel that Garnacho and his camp feel that why should he have to adapt to a completely new system when he could just go to another team and carry on his development playing in the area of the field that he wants to play and playing in a team that's going to value him as the superstar, where he doesn't really have to pass to his teammate and he could just shoot on sight whenever he feels like. And maybe sometimes when he has the ball on the left-hand side and the angle doesn't really favor him using his right foot, he could just use his left foot, even though it's an impossible angle, knowing that he might not score, but it might go in rather than passing it or crossing it. Or so I just think to myself, yeah, at the end of the day, Man United have to sell Garnacho. It is a needs must situation because we're in a situation where we have to sell to buy. Garnacho represents 100% profit. So the money that we get for Garnacho is going to boost the coffers of Manchester United, who literally needs a severe rebuild. Somebody tried to say that I've heard another content creator say earlier that Garnacho is Manchester United's best player. Now, I seriously disagree with that at the moment. He's definitely not better than Ahmad at the moment, even though you could all argue that the numbers are similar and blah 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 blah. I think at this point in time, Ahmad's proved that he's a better player than Garnacho. Maybe not a much better player, but he's better than him right now. And I see Ahmad getting better and better and better. So from my perspective, it's good money. We sell him, and we can improve our team. We can use the money for Garnacho and go and buy somebody who's better than Garnacho right now. So for me, it's a step in the right direction. Now, as it pertains to getting a discount on Osimhen, um, I think it's a good move if we can get some form of a discount in writing. I don't think I do like the player. I don't think he's the best for this. I don't think he's the best right now in terms of if I had to pick between him and let's say Gyökeres, I'd prefer Gyökeres because I know what Gyökeres can do in this system. So if it's Man United just trying to get a cheeky discount and whatnot, and if the price difference between him and Gyökeres is crazy different, and that's all we can afford, then by all means go and get him. But if not, I prefer Gyökeres, in my opinion. So I mean, we're just gonna have to watch the space on what the club decide to do with that. But I just feel that if they keep on trying to cheapen on signings, if you keep doing that, eventually you're gonna run into a brick wall. There's some areas of the field where you can't just be looking for whatever the cheapest is. Having said that, is Osimhen a number two? Yeah, I would argue that out of the strikers, he's probably a number two. Maybe a little bit higher than Benjamin Sesko just because of the physicality standpoint, even though I believe that Benjamin Sesko has way more technical ability than him. He's a big lad, but he doesn't use his strength in the way that we need. So let's see what happens there.
That's interesting, bro. Like, I mean, I have to take your word for that. I mean, I've been thinking similar things about Osimhen in terms of that. I would prefer to get either one of Sesko or Gyökeres for me, because I felt like they are also big lads, big physical guys that are quick and can use their physicality, and they are doing it in Europe in a sense where I feel like, for me, Sesko is one of those players that I think will develop to be probably the version of Højlund that we want him to be. He's almost that already. You know, he scores goals. He knows how to hold up the play. He has a lot of ability. He has a depth first touch, which Højlund lacks right now. I think out of the three, if I was to put him, Højlund, and let's just say Victor Osimhen in a three, I would say he has the best first touch out of the three strikers. So that would be the guy I would choose.
100%.
I know he is younger though, but yeah.
I think he's even got a better first touch than Gyökeres. But the only thing is that the difference between them is that Gyökeres knows how to use his body against big defenders. And so that's the only thing which separates them. Other than that, I mean, I just hope the club make the right decision because, like, in my opinion, you haven't gone on to him yet, or actually, we're about to discuss him. I'll wait until you bring it up. But yeah, I just hope the club make the right decision as far as the striker position goes, because I don't want another young player unless you sell one of these young players and replace them with another young player who you think might be better.
That's interesting, bro. Lecce apparently playing serious hardball over Patrick Dorgu's price as Man United officials fly to Milan tonight to have a summit tomorrow. And guys, when we say this, we're going to go on because this story has a part 2 to it already that's already been established. It's going to be really, really difficult, you know. So as we know that this guy was reported to be, you know, on the offer for between 15 to 25 million euros, and intermediaries and Manchester United executive met with Lecce management in Milan today. And the market transfer value is in full swing. Patrick Dorgu, a young talent from Lecce, is at the center of negotiation. And the intermediaries have been talking, and apparently they want something from the region of 30 to 35 million for the player. So they are not looking to sell him before for 15 to 20. They have doubled their price, and they're asking for 30 plus 5 million euros in add-ons. The interesting scenario to this, which I must bring up right now, and guess what, guys? It's going to sound really funny because guess what? Napoli is in the race, and the difference is Napoli price on offer is 25 million euros. It's funny that, you know, this is the situation right now, and maybe it might be a thing that we might do, but I'm saying to you guys now, is he really that good that we need to spend 30 million euros for this guy? I don't know about you lot, but there are two other left back options that I have been looking at that we know about. One cost half the price. He is 15 million euros, and we already know that's Alvaro Fernandez, who was also at United previously, that went to Benfica, who has already had an assist in the first 2 minutes of the game against Barcelona tonight, and he's having a blinder. And the other one is the young chap from Girona, Miguel Gutierrez, who has a release clause of 25 million euros. So guys, I don't know what your thoughts are, but for me, honestly, I don't know too much about this player. I have seen basically one game of this guy. He looks decent. I can't say he's amazing, but you know, what are your thoughts, guys? Oh, let me drop a link so you can come in 433. Big up, bro.
I think for me, in terms of Dorgu, I don't think he's like Man United starting level quality. I think he's another young player that needs to get developed. Don't get me wrong, he has some attributes. He has some things that he can bring to the game as far as his pace and his strength and his aerial ability. But as far as his crossing ability goes, I'm not really a fan of it. He is two-footed and he can play on both wings, and he can also play as a left centre-back. So yeah, I think for me, he's somebody who can provide cover in certain areas, but but I don't see him as somebody who should be starting for Manchester United. So if they do sign him, I hope that in the summer they can sign somebody over him, because in my personal opinion, I don't think he's Manchester United starting quality. But that's just my personal opinion. From what I've seen and my research and everything else, at times he looks a bit clumsy. At times his passing is definitely not up to scratch. So if we're talking of like interplay, 1-2s, things of that nature, he doesn't look comfortable. He looks like Hoyland on the ball at times. Like you don't want him in the midfield trying to do 1-2 to people. I've seen him attempt to do like some intricate play with his teammates, and his passes are either putting teammates in trouble or the play is getting broken down. So like I say, me personally, I think somebody said Miguel Gutierrez is roughly round about that same sort of price range or a bit cheaper. So there's Kirkes. I don't know how much he will cost.
Kirkes is twice the price.
I think they're trying to double the price because you're trying to get him in January rather than getting him in the summer. However, there's also Robinson. There's Eight Nori. There's a good few. There's players out there. So as far as I'm concerned, yeah, like I think they should try and explore the market. I don't think if you want a first choice, unless they're just buying him because they know he's going to be backup. He's good backup. We could develop him and whatnot, and we're going to get somebody to play over him. That's the only thing I can think of because, like I say, I've gone to do some research, and I don't think he's the guy, but I've seen all these videos where they're like, oh, yeah, he's the best thing since sliced bread. I can't wait till he comes in because he offers this, that, and the third, but I don't think he's Man United starting level, but that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's about opinions, my bro. And I don't think he's Man United starting level in this current moment either. So I tend to agree with you on that. Big up to my brethren, 433 Presser in the building. What's good, homie?
Yeah, Mark. Big up to the panelists as well. Hey, Mark, we need to link up and cover Jamaica versus Trinidad in February.
Well, we there, bro. Just say the word, bro.
Yeah,
you know
definitely.
what I mean? Just let me know when is the actual game. I'll set up the stream. We you know, you could invite it to, so we could link your channel and everything, and we'll do the hype up everything, bro. We'll do the press release and all those things, bro. That's fine.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm for that. And actually stick around because I want to talk about something that about your Jamaican team, which has me in a little bit of fear for that game as well, to be honest.
Listen, man, in terms of the fullback situation, right? Especially seeing that we have a different system where we going forward. I mean, even though we play a left wing back, you know, under Eric Ten Hag and even before, the fullback situation was always an issue that we needed to address. I remember at one point, Ineos, when they just came and said that they would have prioritized a fullback, a left back in the summer. For some reason, we didn't go for anyone. You know, under Ten Hag, we brought in Malasia. He was young, hasn't really worked out. You know, injury had him out for a long period of time. In terms of this player that we're being linked to, I've never watched him play before, but I don't need to watch him to know that he's not a starter for United. You know what I'm saying? I think we've neglected that position for far too long over that left-hand side, and I think we just have to bring in somebody of quality with experience that can start straight, and then probably you can have a guy like this or Malasia to be a backup or something like that, you know? But I think if we're going to progress as a club, we need somebody who is reliable. I remember Arsenal a couple years ago directly going for a player like Ben White, and we've seen different types of fullbacks that they've went for. These are like players who they experienced, you know, they have quality, so they come straight in and they add to the team. So I think United, I don't know what's going on with Radcliffe. He's like a penny pincher, like this bargain merchant at this moment in time. So I don't know, but we need some serious players that with experience and quality.
Bro, I totally agree with you, you know, to be honest. And like, I mean, for me, you could penny pinch, but at some point in time, you have to spend that monies, bro, because realistically, You know what I mean? It's one thing to run a football club, but then it's one thing to run a mammoth club the size of Manchester United. And, you know, like, people would say a bunch of things, and this is what I would say to them. Like, you know, we cannot always just look at it from a perspective where they just tell us this is a good option and that's a good option, because look at that, right? This guy, they asking 35 million for that guy. Girona has a price 30 million, and this is a release clause, bro. 30 million, done deal. And this guy, we've seen this guy performance in the last 2 seasons for Girona in La Liga. He has been their starting player, one of their most positive performers in the squad. You know what I mean? Like, this guy, not only he's 23 years old, and not only that, he contributes going forward. He's very good at defending. He's both-footed. He plays the left-back role. He could play left wing-back. He has devious crosses. You know, in his last season, he had multiple contributions in attack for the team, including 3 goals, and I think it was like 4 assists or 5 assists, in different competitions. And I believe that this guy is just getting started, and he's more of a proven talent, in my honest opinion. And now, I like Dorgu because I don't mind bringing in a young talent, because for me, a young talent is always something that you look forward to being a Man United fan. But since we've been, like my brother just said, neglecting this position for so long, we need someone to come in and start now. We need someone ready now. We don't need someone that we have to wait for them to be developed, because we have the likes of Harry Amas.
Yeah.
We have young Murray. Let's develop those guys.
In terms of the right-hand side over the years, we've always been balanced in that position. Like, we haven't been bad compared to the left-hand side, where Luke Shaw at times, you know, sometimes he's good and then he becomes unreliable when he has injuries. The right-hand side of United, we've always been consistent with, like, having a selection of a player in that position. Sometimes we could have a better player, but it's not bad. But the left-hand side, as you said, we really need somebody who we can rely on and who has quality. And one thing I want to point out as well, I mean, when last has United even met a release class of a player? You know, a lot of the times players with release classes tend to be good players who are looking to move forward. I look at Liverpool, I look at Arsenal, I look at Chelsea, I look at Man City. When they see the best players from different respective teams across Europe, they meet the release class and just get the player and just move along. And you go to your next transfer. You know what I'm saying? United, I think it's reverse psychology, where we see a player with a release clause, and for some reason, when the player's quality, we're like, oh no, let's not sign him. Let's sign a player for 50 mil or 80 or whatever the case is, when you could get this player on a cheap. You know what I'm saying? So
100%.
we have to do better business in the market, and that's what we want to see from Ineos as well, because the last transfer window, or the first transfer window under Ineos, Cherki, who was it again? Cherki and who?
It was Cherki. We get Mazarawi, Delit, Euro, and Ugarte.
I think Ugarte and Euro was more like an Ineos signing, but the next 3, I think they were like, obviously Eric Ten Hag, you know what I'm saying? So we haven't really had a transfer window where it's good as yet, you know? So we have to do better going forward.
We have to do better. Big up to Rick Amank. Guys, I'm gonna go through some more slides, and then we're gonna have the final says, right? Because I don't really want to go too long tonight, and let's just say we have to save something for tomorrow. But basically, what I wanted to ask you guys, I have some other information. You see that Alvaro Fernandez is there. He's an option that we could bring back with a buyback clause in the region of 16 million euros. Why spend 20? Why spend 30 when this guy is a product we made? You know what I mean? And realistically, it will cost us 8 million, because we got 8 million for him when we sold him. So that's one thing. Moving on to this, I know a lot of people didn't pay attention to this story, but like I have to say, Antony's loan deal with Real Betis, there's some hidden clauses in there, and one more important that I thought I would bring to the attention of everyone. And with his move set and the loan deal set to go through, there's no buy option, while there's no loan fee involved, but the club could save a lot through wages as they pay a significant portion. Now, Antony to Betis loan, United have the equivalent amount, and their player is going on loan. He has already agreed. Medical will happen in the next coming days, and that will be a situation. But although there's a series of penalties in the course, and if Antony being available does not play 10 or more games, either as a starter or as a full second half, then it could financially boost the Red Devils if Betis do not adhere to this clause specifically, because it has also been included to ensure that the winger gets as much chances as possible in order to regain his form, so that the club can move him on for a decent amount in the summer or reintroduce him into the squad. So it's one of those things where Man United is prioritizing game time of the player over having him on the bench and receiving a loan fee. I would like to ask you guys' thoughts on that. But before you do, I would like to also bring up this little bit of information here. A defensive talent that Manchester United have been scouting. There are reports that while we are already in Milan dealing with the Lecce possibility of a deal, United will take this time to discuss and inquire on the fee for this young player, and his name is Rafael Palladino. No, my bad. His name is Pietro Comuso. My bad. His coach is Rafael Palladino, where this 19-year-old has been a established starter in the team, regular, and he's getting into the national team setup as well with his performances. Napoli are in for this youngster. They already made a 20 million euro bid. He's a centre-back that can play both sides of the centre-back role. He's both-footed. He plays mostly on the left, but he can play the right as well as in the center. You know, speaking about it, despite his young age, Comuso has shown a remarkable maturity. With the right guidance, he could become one of the top defenders in Europe. And this is not only one coach, but this is also another coach. And we're talking about the Juventus coach who has been talking about him after his side faced Fiorentina earlier on this season. Fiorentina president Rocco Commisso plans to retain Comuso until the end of the season, hoping the club's continued participation in Europe competitions will boost his valuation to 35 to 40 million euros. However, if a deal comes in around the price of 20 to 25 million euros, they may be forced to let the youngster leave, as he might be willing to make a move. So last but not least, I know my buddy in the back there is going to like this one, because 17-year-old striking sensation training with Man United in the first team, becoming an increasingly familiar face to Amorim. And what we're talking about, guys, is Chido Obi Martin. And of course, the young Dane has been showing some improvement in the last few games. So I can tell he has been receiving a tentative coaching from Amorim. Guys, your thoughts on this? Let me know. What are your thoughts? Yo, I see Rick Mank disappeared. Big up to Bailey Tech. What are your thoughts, bro?
All right. So what was the first story?
Antony with a game with a game time clause in his contract.
Yeah, Antony, like, I think it's a smart move by the club, because obviously they want to get rid of him, and there's no point in sending him to Real Betis for him not to be playing or to be on the bench at Betis. So I think you could say they strong-armed Betis into forcing Antony to play regardless of his form, which is fine. Antony will play at Betis regardless. They're going to treat him like a superstar and whatnot, and hopefully he can score a lot of goals and maybe introduce himself to the Spanish teams and whatnot, and then hopefully somebody will come and pay up some money come the summer. What it appears to me now is that Manchester United are trying to revamp their attack. They've literally pretty much almost got rid of everyone. If you think Antony's pretty much out the door, you got Sancho out the door, you got Rashford out the door, and now you're going to have Alejandro Garnacho out the door. So it looks like they're revamping their attack, and they're going to bring multiple players in between, let's say, now and next summer. So, yeah, I think it's a good look. In regards to this defender, is it Kumwa?
Kumosi, something like that.
The Italian defender.
Kumosi.
Yeah, I've never heard of him. I'm gonna have to do my research in order to see whether that signing is good enough. He like, just by his age and profile, he just seems like somebody who ultimately is gonna be a backup maybe they haven't got the money to go and buy Diomande in the summer. I don't know. Maybe they don't want to spend the money on Inacio. I mean, we're gonna have to see if that's the case or not. And then lastly, Obi Martin, like the guy, he can play. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't think he's ready for the first team yet. But maybe in the next, we'll have to see how he develops in the next like year or two. But I believe he would have probably made his debut before by at least minimum 19 years old. I reckon he would have made his debut between maybe next season or the season after. Because, like, let's face it, he's a good player. He's first team bound. He probably needs to put on a bit of muscle for the Prem. But he is a physical specimen, and he knows he knows the back of the net. He knows he's got pace. He's strong, and he's 2-footed. And yeah, hopefully he can improve himself and fight for his place in the team. But for now, like I've always said, I want somebody who's ready now. I want a goal scorer who's ready now, because I don't want to sit there criticizing a 17/18-year-old because he's not good enough to be playing week in, week out. I don't mind if he's coming off the bench and we don't have to rely on him, but it's when we have to rely on him, that's when I will take issue with not only what he's producing, but the club as well. And also, it's like the club has a duty to the fans to put players in that are ready now. You can't have us rely on kids for every scenario. Not to say that there's anything wrong with playing kids, but if you're going to be a kid in the team, you have to look at kids that played in teams week in, week out, like the likes of Lionel Messi. Even though you knew that Messi was developing, you never questioned the decision to do that because you could see that the kid is good. It's the same thing with Yamin Yamal. You don't really question it because you know week in, week out the guy's balling out. So as far as I'm concerned, if you're gonna play Manchester United first team, you can't just be crap in the first team. We have to see that you're good enough to wear the shirt and to hold the shirt. And really and truly, you look at Yamin Yamal starting for Barca, it doesn't look like anyone should be taking his shirt when I see him play. And that's what I want to see from the young boys coming in, the likes of Euro or Obi Martin or whoever plays for Manchester United. I want to see them be in the team on merit and not being in the team because our senior players have decided to be shit. So now we have no choice but to play you because our senior players are shit. Like the way we've promoted some of, like, as an example, Mainu. Not to say that Mainu's not a good player, but the only reason why Mainu's playing now is because the likes of Casemiro and Ericsson and all these other guys, they were looking rubbish. And that's why the guys got so many chances. It's the same thing with some other players. Like Toby Collier's playing now. Now, Toby Collier, he might not be Manchester United level. Like, it might take us maybe a season or two or three, because I wouldn't really call this season his breakout season because they haven't really played him that much. They've played him similar. They played him in a similar way to the way they played Ahmad last season. So my theory on Collier is that he's probably not good enough to start for Manchester United. But in this current climate, where we have Casemiro not being used, where we have Ericsson not being used, okay, bring on Toby Collier. That's where we're at. But I would rather, personally, this is just me, I would rather these kids be so good that they've forced their way into the team to the point where we're now looking at Casemiro thinking, oh, well, why do we have Casemiro? like when we got Toby Collier, like Toby Collier is way better than him. But we're not in like you can't fix your lips to say that Toby Collier is better than Casemiro, even though you know Casemiro ain't got the legs. You can't say you can't fix your lips to say that Toby Collier is better than Eriksen, even though Eriksen ain't got the legs. So that's where I'm kind of at with like youngsters in the team.
Interesting. 4-3-3. What are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, let me start with Antony. Yeah, I think it's a good clause that United put in the contract, because at the end of the day, we need to sell him and we need to kind of up his value, even if it is by $1 million or two. It doesn't make sense. I mean, we have to cut our losses regardless. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of what we sell him for. But if he can go and he plays some games and he can, get a little form or a couple goals here and there, then it would be good for United. So including that type of clause where they might face a penalty if they don't play him in 10 games or whatever the case is, I think it's a good business from United. And I think it's good sending him in January as well. I've looked at Chelsea over the years when they're trying to get a player off the books, they don't just keep the player there on the bench when he's not a part of the plans. They tend to send them out on a loan with an option to buy or obligation to buy. And it has worked out where the player has left after a season or two. So I think with Antony, that's a good thing. Hopefully by the summer, clubs will be in for Antony this summer. He's 24, around that age. So he's relatively still young. And there's a player in him, but just not for United or for the Premier League itself, right? I heard the previous person talk about Cheeto. I think, Mark, we have to send him out on a loan. Personally, I wouldn't want to see him in the first team right now or even next season. I think any first team should be a different club where it's a loan deal. And I look at Amad Diallo, for example. I remember when United purchased Amad Diallo. I think we take too long to send out Amad Diallo on loan. When he went on loan, eventually he performed well for Sunderland. I think he got the award for Young Player of the Year. I think he was for the Championship or for Sunderland, one out of the two, right? And I think for years, United, we haven't done well with sending out players in the academy on loans. You look at Chelsea, you look at Arsenal, and some of their respective youth players over the years, they've sent them to Germany, Netherlands, and they've performed well. It's just about them getting that chance in the first team and then playing to that level. So for me, Cheeto, United is too bad right now to put him in a situation where he's even coming off the bench. I don't want that pressure on the kid right now. So I think a loan for me in the summer or whatever the case is, or even now, would be good. Maybe not now, because you'd have to find a perfect club to send him to and say to them, listen, he needs to play a game. In the summer, I think you have time to construct a deal, find various clubs and talk business with, and whatever the case is, where he'll start off next season playing games. So that's my thought process surrounding those two talking points.
Interesting, bro. Well, there's two main talking points. Well, the real main talking point for night, a real interesting one. Glad you sticked around, you know what I mean? Because this is coming. And I am excited for you as a Trini. I know we're going to take you on, but this is a shock for me, because I think this guy will destroy my team. And he's quit England officially. He signed the documents and he's on his way. He just received the number 10 jersey of Jamaica. He will be representing the Reggae Boys as they bid their way to World Cup qualification. It begins very soon, and he should be in Jamaica to play in that that game as part of, the ramp up to him being the number 10 in the team. I think it's an amazing addition for you. The form that he has been in this season has been nothing short of sensational, despite all, the rumors and all the situations that was going on over the last 2 seasons. One thing we can say when it comes to football, this guy is definitely still on his road to continuing to be a generational talent in world football. And bringing this into the show, guys, I know some people might be mad, but you know what? He's a top player. He plays in my conference, which is CONCACAF, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. You know what I mean? So we'll talk about that. And last but not least, Ruben Amorim, guys. Ruben Amorim damages the Manchester United dressing room. Furious after the Brighton loss. Furious with the players. There was said that some players were utterly shocked, and some of them are still shook because they've never seen our smiling manager so upset since they've met him. And I would say he's totally right. It was a horrible game. And they probably should be on the end of what that TV deserved for their performances. Criminals, all of them, in that game. What are you saying? Big up to you. Let me know, 433 Presser. This is your segment, to be fair, because you know that guy is gonna smash it for Jamaica. That's what you have to say.
With Mason, he won't be available for. Well, he's available for selection, but the February game with Trinidad, it's not an official FIFA window, so yeah. So he won't be available for selection. But after that, leading up to the qualifiers and the Gold Cup, whatever the case is, he'll be available. But I mean, you know, we all know the climate that is in England, and you know, luckily for him, you know, he has experience with Jamaican heritage, so he has the opportunity to represent Jamaica. If it wasn't for that, then, you know, Mason Greenwood literally wouldn't have a international career. You know, whether or not, you know, people have different opinions surrounding Greenwood. You know, all of us have a different stance on the situation, but he's in a total different country. And I'm not saying that excludes him from what he was accused of or anything, but, you know, he's moving on with his life. He's moving on with his footballing career. You know, people will still make up noise here and there about what he supposedly did. But, you know, for some people, it's only noise we can make. You know what I'm saying? For some people, they'll appreciate him. So for some people, they won't appreciate him. But, you know, we can't, no one can stop Mason Greenwood from playing for Jamaica or whatever the case is. You know what I'm saying? The Jamaica Football Federation, they've accepted him. They've publicly stated that they want the player, and the player wants to play for Jamaica. He has written to them stating that, you know, he wants to play for them. And I think, you know, it's a team that they're trying to figure out themselves under Steve McLaren. You know, I think Steve McLaren, to an extent, is kind of familiar with Greenwood. I remember an interview in which Steve said that he did speak with Greenwood when he was about to leave United, but he didn't tell him at the time that he was taking the Jamaica job, right? So having that familiarity with Coach Steve McLaren and that United relationship, I guess that will help him to settle into the climate of CONCACAF and the Jamaica national team well. So, you know, it is what it is surrounding Mason Greenwood. In terms of Ruben Amorim, honestly, Mark, I was telling a friend today, I think that Ruben Amorim is the Jose Mourinho 2.0, but not in terms of the tactics, but saying it as it is. When Mourinho was at United, he told us things about some of these respective players at the club right now. And I think because Rashford's of the world and the Antony Marshall and some of these guys were just coming through and relatively still young, we didn't kind of take on to what Mourinho was saying. And even recently, Mourinho said that until we sell some of these players, we will not win any trophies, we will not become better. And he's right. And I'm glad that Ruben Amorim is in this United job. He's not being pretty. He's not being nice. He's not being an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's not being a babyface assassin and kissing up to these players and talking about Russia and all this type of BS, right? He's not being an Eric Ten Hag who's going to say, oh, I'm trying to play him into form after 10, 15 poor performances. You know, he's saying, listen, you're out of the team. You're not in my plans. And honestly, Mark, and to the next guy on the panel, that performance against Brighton was poor. And I've seen United win the games against City and Arsenal, and I'm not pleased, you know, because these are big teams. United in previous seasons, we have beaten these respective teams, right? We beat City. City are at their worst in probably the last decade or whatever the case is, right? And we're also at our worst compared to previous seasons. It's a derby. You know, the result could sway anyway. And we literally won that game in the dying moments. Arsenal is completely shit not to beat United, right? Southampton, who would have thought that Amad Diallo would have came up with like 3 huge goals in the last 9 moments of the game, the last 12 minutes. Brighton, they've had our ticket over the years. From Jose Mourinho was there to the time when he signed Victor Lindelof. Brighton, they've been beating us, Mark. So I'm glad that Ruben Amorim is saying to these players, listen, you guys are absolutely piss poor. And I don't care if you broke the TV. He came out in the post-match against Brighton. He stated that, you know, this might be the worst United team in history. And he's absolutely right. And I don't give a rat's ass as to who takes offense to it. I'm glad that we have a manager like this who is saying it as it is. And even if he loses his dressing room, let him lose the dressing room. The players that are not on his side, you ship out those players, because really and truly, a lot of these guys are not good enough for United. And that's a fact, right? That's an absolute fact. A lot of them they're not good enough for United. And they need to be out the door this upcoming summer.
I just go and preload this for my boy Bali Tech to close the show, because, you know, he is here, and this is one of his favorite players that he is hoping Manchester United would sign, and this is 21-year-old Osimhen Diomande. Of course, he's on the market for about 60 million euros, and there have been a breaking report that Manchester United are preparing to send a bid in an effort to bring him in January, and they are prepared to pay it in full. Bali Tech.
I don't believe this report. However, if it did happen, that would be crazy. Because at the end of the day, we look at our current centre backs. Really and truly, I think only Harry Maguire really actually suits playing central centre back for now. Obviously, Euro can still develop, but this is Manchester United. We need players for right now. This guy is definitely a for right now player. He fits the mold. He's very tall. He's very big. He's strong. He's quick. He's good on the ball. He can step into midfield. He's good in the air. He's got He's got all the technical abilities. He's got good passing range on him. He can break the lines with passing. So as far as I'm concerned, if he's available, City will try and sign him. Personally, I don't want to see this guy go to City or to go to any of our rivals. You look at, as an example, Arsenal. Arsenal's got Saliba over there, yeah. And while Euro could be a Saliba in the next couple of years, this guy is good enough to compete with Saliba right now. So as far as I'm concerned, this is the guy who you want to be bringing in that centre back position. As far as I'm concerned. So like I said, Harry Maguire hasn't really got the pace to play in this team. Like, I'm happy to see him play every now and then, but week in, week out, he's literally supposed to be a backup. So hopefully this is true, and we start putting some quality players in this team. Because at the end of the day, it's all good going for your third and fourth choice, yeah? And then over a period of time, we're going to say we have a quality issue. Why not buy quality players knowing that you got quality there? I'm not saying that every single player has to be of that quality, but I'm saying we need at least 5 or 6 players in the team of that quality, and then everyone else can sort of play around them. So yeah, that's my take on that.
Big up. Before you jump in, 43 to finalize your opinions, I just go and bring this last guy. I was talking to Bali about this guy for the last couple of days, Ryan Cherki. Now, the interesting thing about this guy is that he would definitely fit that 10 role, that left 10 role that we've been trying to fill. Of course, Garnacho has been trying to fill into that role. Marcus Rashford doesn't seem to want to play that role. And this guy, since joining Lyon, he has been their youngest ever goal scorer in League 1. He has made 14 appearances this season. He has 3 goals and 3 assists. He's one of those players that has created 32 chances. He's the 7th best tally in French top-flight football. He averages 3.5 big chances per 90 minutes. Also, including his passes and through balls, he has an 84.3% passing accuracy per game. He also has this thing that he goes to the wing and he crosses the ball. And he has this percentile that says he crosses 1.53 successful crosses per game. And that would mean that he's also very good at set pieces. He's not the quickest player, but he completes 3.4 dribbles per game, the joint 3rd best dribble success rate in Ligue 1. And the Lyon midfielder is not a liability defensively because he's won 85.7% of his tackles and has only been successful in 47.5 of his ground and 37.5 of his aerial duels. It has a clause in his contract where he can be bought for at least £19 million. And to be fair, he also is on 58k per week. So it's not an expensive deal to do. He is a very interesting player. It's one of those things where I feel like we should definitely be looking at this 21-year-old to play that left-sided 10 role. We need to buy in the profile. And with Antony going and Rashford possibly leaving, and it looks like Garnacho might be leaving, if we were to be bringing in a player, I think the best choice would be to bring this guy in as an attacking solution. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see a player like this come to Manchester United. Skillful talent, two-footed. Yeah, I would love it. Because at the end of the day, what do we watch football for? We watch football to be entertained. And obviously, I feel like whoever's going to play in that number 10, bro, that should be their remit to entertain, obviously to follow the manager's instructions, but also to entertain, unlocking defenses left, right, and center in the final third. Wonderful strikes on goal, edge of your seat type of moments that they're producing in terms of their quality. So yeah, I'd love to see this type of guy at Manchester United. He's cheap and cheerful, a bargain based price, just like the Glazers and Sir Jim and Ineos like it. So yeah, why not bring this guy in? But then if he's going to be the replacement for Garnacho, who's going to be the replacement for Rashford? Maybe a Mateus Cunha? I don't know. We'll have to see. But I hear he's on it as well. So
Exactly.
we'll have to see what's going to happen. But big up to the chat. You know, doing chat things as per
Big up to
usual.
the great one in the building for that amazing super chat. Big up to you, my brother. I think that's the biggest super chat I've ever received so far since I can receive super chats. Thank you. Big up. I see Marky Harris is coming in. What about the buyback clause for Greenwood? Just get him and play him, bro. That would be my favorite day of the week. The day we re-sign Greenwood, bro. Trust me, I'm here for it. I am here for that. We need a striker. With this Cherki fellow, we need a lethal finishing, not just creativity. But you know what I mean? I agree with you, Franz. But if you bring in this guy, and then in the summer you bring in the likes of a Gyökeres or a Benjamin Sesko, does that not finish our attack? When you know a guy is going to average 2 crosses that's going to hit their chest in the middle of the box every game, give them 2 actual opportunities to score a goal, I bet you they at least score one of them. You know what I mean? At 19 million pounds, why not? It's so cheap, bro. It's so cheap. Of course, I don't know that he might not have the best attitude. I can't say. You know, I've only watched 2 games. I don't know that much, and I only was lucky because I was watching it on my buddy's channel, Strasbourg Steve. So it's one of those things. 4-3-3, I don't know if you know more about this player that you can tell me, but I certainly think at 19 million, we can't lose.
Yeah, Cherki, you know, I've seen the highlights of him before. Listen, Leon, over the past couple of years, especially back in COVID, they've been through their fair share of difficulties, especially financially, and the whole league one as well. You know, it's kind of crumbling to an extent. And I remember at the back end of last year, there was some things about Leon being relegated or something like that, right? So yeah, I think they're outside of the top 4 right now. The last time I checked, Cherki is definitely a player that I think United could use. And you know, actually, when I look at the system, I just think the players that we have been playing, excluding Bruno Fernandez, I think the other players that we've been playing in that number 10 role hasn't really worked out in the sense that they're not natural to that position. They're more looking to drift wide, whether it's Marcus Rashford, or Alejandro Garnacho. So it's only one number 10 in that position, who's Bruno Fernandez, who is more roaming. I need somebody who's gonna really be on that ball, who's really gonna drive at the heart of defenses and, you know, find those pockets of spaces, work the ball around that back 4 or whatever the case is. And I think Cherki and his technical ability, and I think he's a very strong player as well. I don't think he really gets bundled off the ball easily. And for that price as well, I think he's a player that we should be going in for. But again, you know, over the years, United, you know, we get players recommended to us, or there are players out there in the market for cheap, and we don't pick them up, and they go to our next club and they perform, and we sit here and we're like, why didn't we go for this player? So Ineos, being the new ownership running the football thing, I think they have to at least go to the negotiation table to negotiate with Leon and see what's up, right? And again, if the reports are true, which it seems true about Garnacho and these guys leaving, we actually have to buy replacements for next season, you know. So he's a player out there that we have to look at.
100%, bro. Jay saying it right. See how swift and fast PSG moved in for João Neves last summer, and now Kvaratskhelia in January. I'm sure we are still hopeful we get Kvaratskhelia. But look now how that turned out. 100%, bro.
And to add something as well, look at Bradley Barcola. I remember I had a friend who told me about him before he even started to do well at Lyon before he moved. And I'm not going to say we missed out on him, but PSG literally they identified that he was one of the next best things in the French division, and they went straight for him. You know what I'm saying? So if I want some of these guys, we have to move quickly.
Yeah, bro, 100%. Guys, it's been a nice one. It's been an interesting one. 433. Hope to see more of you, bro. Hope you link up more. Let me know when you have time available. Just hit me in the email so we can do some more streams, bro. Definitely have that collab coming. Trinidad versus Jamaica. Be here for it, guys. Stay tuned because you know what? We're going to be coming at you all live and direct. Big up to Bali Tech in the building for coming through. Big up to Jay. Big up to Franz Mapura. Big up to Sosa as well. Big up to Al Mac in the building. Leon Soul, Gift or Band, Kakaret together for 25 or 20 million pounds. Combined, they're selling everyone cheap. It's a fire sale. CCL says I'd get him. He's cheaper than Embuemo. Guys, it's interesting. Of course, I'm going to be agreeing with Marky Harris twice. I'll double down. If we can do that deal, we're back, baby. We're back. Trust me. You know what I mean? And big up to the great one. Thanks so much for your contribution, my brother. Big up to you and have a great night. I don't know about Cunha, guys. Maybe it might be interesting, but what I can say is we do know that Wolves are expecting somewhere in the region of 60 to 70 million pounds if they are to sanction a deal for Cunha and also for Aït-Nouri. It's really ridiculous how these Premier League clubs are planning to sell some of the players that they have. Casemiro, players need to learn who he is. Amorim is not messing around. Big up to everyone in the building. Big up to Sam, Tommy Boyle as well. Big up to Stephanie Griffith. And big up to Mama Flossie and Royden Force. Hope you have a safe flight, my brother. Good night, guys. From my brethren, Bali Tech is here. And me, Mark and MUFC fan. Have a good night, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow with the match preview. Hopefully, Bali Tech will have the time in the evening to do it. But we'll be here. Big up to you guys. And have a great one.
Baby.